Are we back? I mean, we should be back. Every year I wonder if the podcast will be waiting here in its little tiny digital hibernation, ready to open as the Fringe arrives. If you can hear this, the flowers of art are in bloom. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Ewan Spence here, just on the edge of the Edinburgh Festival Fringe in time, already in the city and getting ready, making sure everything's ready for another year of the Edinburgh Fringe. Let's fade down Needfires. We have done 21 years of this, and Needfires, when I get there, as our theme tune, is still welcome and still gets me ready for the Fringe. And as always, this is what this podcast episode is for. Over the next few weeks and into August, we'll have backstage discussions, interviews, thoughts and opinions from across the world of the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. This episode is our kick the tires to check everything is working. We don't run the podcast all year round, so we need to check our directory listings, our RSS feeds, see if anything has changed, anything needs tweaked. This is basically the warm-up, the Prologue, the let's make sure we can do this thing when we really need to be doing this thing. So if you're listening to this, it's working. We're back. We're doing the thing. We have our two partners back from last year, so it is wonderful to welcome Radio 6 International and Lothian Life to the show. Tony Curry and Radio 6 International will be working with them to bring weekend editions of the podcast to radio stations around the world, including at one point, I believe, getting us on a medium wave transmitter in the south of France with 1 million watts of audio power, allowing us to reach right across the continent. You'll get details and be able to listen to our Saturday omnibus editions at radio6.com. We also welcome back the team at Lothian Life magazine and their extensive reviews, written articles and thoughts from around the Fringe, including the previews and into August and also beyond as well. You'll find all of their work at lothianlife.co.uk, and as you'll hear many, many times, links to those sites are back at our site, edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com. Okay, how's the timetable going to be working out this year? It's pretty much following the format we've had since the COVID pandemic. We have our Everything is Working episode. We'll then have 3 preview shows running through July and just sneaking into August. The Fringe is a little bit later this year. So interviews in there, look back at Fringe history. What does it mean to be doing Fringe? And a little bit more as well. Then we will be going into our interview shows throughout August. We'll be running interviews Monday through Friday to give yourself a little slice of the Fringe. If you're in Edinburgh, it's an option to go and sort your timetable out and go to those shows. If you're not in Edinburgh during August, then it's a little bit of what you're missing. It's also a little bit of what you might find around you, what you might be able to find online. So much online presence and touring going on as well, especially around the rest of the UK following the Fringe. In terms of seeing when they all come up, well, it's best keep an eye on the feed, on our website, on the social medias of this world, and we'll do our best of getting the Fringe to you in some form or another. But it all really starts at the website, edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com. We're still a podcast, so you'll find us in the big directories. You'll find us on Apple Podcasts. You'll be able to find us on Spotify. I'm tucking up the interviews up on my YouTube channel, which we did last year quite quietly. We got some people going on and engaging in that. It's easy to search Ewan Spence on YouTube. And essentially, where are you listening to this? Great, you found us. That's wonderful. Stay there. See if you can leave a review, star rating. It helps people find us in the whole cacophony of noise that we have in the online world today. Now, in previous years, this is the point where I would sit down and explain that many, many years ago, we had a song written for the podcast by Daniel Cainer, talking about Edinburgh, talking about the experiences of the Fringe. And at this point, you know, it's like decades, literally, since that song was written. But it's tradition. So it's still here. And each reference is getting more and more like a sort of archaeological dig to find the zeitgeist of a world before the Web 2.0 explosion and sitting down and grandpa shaking fists at clouds. But, you know, it doesn't matter. This is how we started the Fringe. This is how we start the Fringe. And I suspect for the future, this is how we will start the Fringe going forward. And it's, I mean, there's also that advantage that Daniel Cainer is still coming up to the Fringe. It's been 1 or 2 years, but he's skipped out. So last year he was playing at 11:50 in the morning at George Square the Weeku with his show Daniel Cainer. And this year he's playing at 11:50 in George Square the Weeku with a show called Daniel Cainer. It does have a subtitle this year, What Am I, Chopped Liver? But I don't know, Daniel. All I know is you're how I start the Fringe. And for everybody out there on the podcast who's been around the block a few times, it's how they start the Fringe as well. So, still, what's it like to be in Edinburgh?
What's it like to be in Edinburgh at this time of year? There's certainly a hell of a lot going on round here. 2,500 shows to see at any given time. And some are frankly awful, some are great, and then there's mine. And each of us thinks that ours is the best in the history of mankind. It's like a cruise that never moves. That's what it's like to be in Edinburgh. What's it like to be in Edinburgh and put on your little show? You work so hard to get it there, but nobody wants to go, despite the 10,000 flyers and the posters you've had done. There are no ticket buyers, save your sister and your mum. And if you hadn't paid for their hotel and their train, then even they wouldn't have come. An average annual wage buys half a stage. That's what it's like to be in Edinburgh. What's it like to be in Edinburgh? Are you nothing but a crack whore? And though you should know better, you keep coming back for more. Out on the Royal Mile, it's a ticker tape parade. And each night in the gutter, there's your crumpled face displayed. And there's nothing you won't do for a Scotsman review that you wouldn't do anyway. And it is what it is. It's just showbiz. It's what we like. What are we like? That's what it's like to be in Edinburgh.
That's how we start the Fringe every year, so I guess the clock is ticking. 3 more preview shows coming up every Monday until we get into Fringe proper, when we'll be blasting onto our Monday through Friday daily schedule. Weekend omnibuses going out as well. And yes, welcome back to the largest arts festival on the planet. Let me be your guide to just a small part and bring you as much of the flavour of the Fringe as we possibly can here on the podcast. edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com. Contact details there if you want to get in touch with me. And if you're finding us on any of your podcast apps or services, your links, your like, your loves, your subscribes, and all of the other things that we always like to promote at the end of a social media content snack. Could you do that, please? It'll be really, really helpful. And I shall see you on the streets of Edinburgh. If not, you can hear me next week. listening to the Edinburgh Fringe show, hosted by Ewan Spence, produced by Spence Media for the Podcast Corner. Listen to more from the Fringe at edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com.